When I talked to my consultants, the engineers that were part of my consulting business, what they heard was what Charlie Brown heard when his teacher was talking. Wah, 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 wah. Hi, my name's Rory McCaw. Welcome to Self-Made Strategy. When I spoke to the engineers and technical people in my business, for whatever reason, no matter what I said, if I said the sky is blue, they heard me saying the sky was green. We were on two different planets most of the time. One of the things that I decided to do about halfway through the building of my business, maybe a little more than halfway, was I decided that we were going to share all the financials with our employees. Every employee, all financials, obviously not salaries, not personal information, but we were going to talk about profits. We were going to talk about losses if we had any, which we only had losses in 1 year, fortunately. We were going to talk about profit sharing and how we allocate some of the profits. We were going to talk about expenses, where the money goes that eats away at the revenue and leaves what remains, which were the profits. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about personal investments. We were trying to be as transparent as possible. And regardless of what I shared, they always heard something different. So one of the things that I decided to do was I decided to have everyone in the organization take what is called the DISC test, which is DISC. And I honestly can't remember at this point what the DISC stands for, but they are basically, it's a personality test, a set of questions that categorizes you into your primary category. You're either a D, an I, an S, or a C, and subcategories based on your answers. And what it helped me to do, because I was a D, a high D, and a D I think stood for dominant. So I spoke to people in a way that made sense to me as a D, but it didn't make sense to someone as an I. So by having these profiles of all of my employees, I better understood, I didn't leverage it as much as I should have, but I better understood how to talk to each different category of people so that they would understand what I'm saying and how it would resonate with them. And that helped them as well, from a consulting perspective, know what their characteristic was and then try to figure out what the characteristic was of the customer when talking to them so that they would be on the same page when they were communicating. It did help us improve communications. I could have done a lot more with it, and I regret not doing more with it, but I would highly recommend having your employees do the DISC test. Good luck in growing your business.